Folks, hello and welcome to Tavern Chat. I am your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR. And if you've seen the title of this video, you're probably going, what are you talking about, Willis? Well, I surprisingly enough had an interesting evening at my local pub, and we met an older gentleman who regaled us with his stories from the 60s and 70s. But it got me thinking the OSR. The OSR is not what necessarily we think it is. I mean, right? OSR gaming is about sandboxes. The OSR gaming is about hex crawls. The OSR gaming is about stuff that I didn't do back in the day. Maybe my experience was unique, but I don't know how unique it was because I played in three distinct groups in two different states, and my experience is relatively similar. This goes back to uh, early early '80s, right? Let's see when did I come in? When did I cut my teeth on RPGs? Probably around junior high school. So actually, earlier than early '80s. We're going to talk 78, 79. So, what didn't we do back then? Everything was what we would call now episodic, right? Every adventure you ran, every adventure you played in, if it was a home brewed adventure, it was a sheet of graph paper with nearly every box in it filled in, because God forbid you wasted graph paper. Graph paper was expensive. It was all expensive shit back then. Okay. Um, was it uncommon to have a dragon in a 10 by 10 room, or 15 orcs in I don't know, again a 10 by 10 room? No, it wasn't uncommon. It was common. I played in groups in the Poconos in northeastern PA. I played with a home group of players in Queens, New York, and was in college. I had a college group that didn't duplicate the members of my home group, and yet everything we played, with the exception during college of RuneQuest 2, when I ran Pavis and Big Rubble was basically or essentially a sandbox. And I ran it as such. And in retrospect, I'm impressed that I did. I had no experience doing so. I had no uh, prior experience doing so. Nobody ran a sandbox for me, but this was essentially a sandbox, and it was a lot of fun to run. But my D&D campaigns were never like that. None of our D&D campaigns were like that. Our Rifts campaigns my friends ran weren't like that. Our MERPS games weren't like that. Uh, Everything was episodic. When I say episodic, it meant that basically it was like watching one of those TV dramas where Magnum PI shoot somebody last week, and then this week it's a new plot line, a new storyline. There's nothing linking it other than the fact that it's the same characters in each episode. Therefore, it's episodic, and that's how we played it. As an OSR DM, GM, somebody who is uh, hoping to have continue a light out before the year is out. Um, Somebody wrote Swords of Wizardry Light. I would rather run those as a continuing sandbox, not necessarily hex crawl, but a sandbox. And yet, again, that's not how we played it back then. I think our way to run games now is certainly superior to how we ran it back then. But to say that the OSR is how things were run back then, back in the 70s and 80s, I mean, these are the main groups I ran in. Set in with another group once or twice, which actually used a caller. That was totally useless for us that were invited to play because the party was all pretty much name level and we were all first level. So we were essentially useless henchmen in that campaign. But that seemed to be episodic too. Didn't seem like there was an ongoing story. And the way adventures were presented, when you read stuff in Dungeon Magazine, awesome resource for episodic gaming. Yes, I would try to put them into whatever setting I was running with. But the reality was they really relied less upon the previous session or the previous adventure. It took 2 or 3 sessions than the actual work. Maybe running T1 to 4, the Temple of Elemental Evil. Maybe that was a bit of a campaign that was self-contained, and you could say, all right, well, each episode fed from the other. But for the most part, it didn't happen that way. I'd like to hear how your games ran back in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Were your campaigns something that was truly a sandbox or a hex crawl? I mean, I didn't experience Judges Guild products who way after that period because they looked like shit printed on newsprint, and I was not going to waste my dollars on that. I'm not saying it was the right decision. I think it was the wrong decision, but at the time, I went with the knowledge that I had. But did you run hex crawls and sandboxes, or did you run something that was more episodic? And why? And why is it different today? I mean, I look at the DCC adventures for DCC RPG, and I think they're great adventures, but I also think of them as episodic. They don't necessarily fit working one till the next. You finish, and we'll set up the pitch for the next adventure. But I like running sandboxes now. But we didn't run it back that way. I didn't run it that way back then. My friends didn't. My fellow gamers didn't. My game experience, my RPG experience did not reflect that. I'm curious to see what your experiences were. So, leave a comment below. Subscribe to Tenkar's Tavern.substack.com. We have a newsletter there, or you can just bookmark the site once a week. You get updates of what's going on at the tavern, the various co-hosts that have their own channels, Joe Block, and I'm assuming others as we go along. It's a work in progress. Is it perfect yet? No, but we will get there. Folks, we are still in the midst of the what? Dare I say it? The endemic. Please, I ask of you, I beg of you, use your common sense. Be safe, be well, God bless, roll those dice, roll them well, and tomorrow night, God willing, 8 p.m. Eastern, myself and Bad Mike, we've got a live stream. Got stuff to talk about. Join us. Hope to see you then. All right, folks.